Good morning. Yesterday we were looking at the lesson plan template and how lesson plan looks like, and actually generally a summary of what is entailed within the lesson plan. Today I would like to take you through a sample of a lesson plan so that you can see what really is required of you while preparing a lesson plan. Of course, yesterday I said the lesson plan contains the administrative details. If you go back to my previous video, you will be able to see the administrative details. We have the strand, we have the substrand, but today I want to focus on the SLOs. When we are talking about SLOs is simply the specific learning outcomes. Now, when we are talking about the specific learning outcomes, actually we have got some specific learning outcomes within the curriculum design. If you revisit the curriculum design of your specific subject area, you will get those SLOs that are indicated there. But now the only difference is now the SLOs within the curriculum design are not enough for the required lessons for the required lessons of each and every substrand. So what we need to do is we have to break down those particular SLOs into smaller units that are manageable within a lesson, and I'm going to show you how we can be able to do that. Now let me take for example my subject area, agriculture. This is going to be our lesson 2. We are going to talk about crop production, and our substrand is agriculture land. Now SLOs, as I said in our yesterday's video, you need at least 3 SLOs, specific learning outcomes, and the first one should test knowledge, the second one should test skills, and the third one should test attitude. Now the first SLO as per my second lesson is number 1. State the utility of the land. Of course, by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to, number 1, state the utility of land meaning in agriculture production. Now, the word state is able to look at the verb. Stating is a verb. It is a doing word. I said an ideal SLO should contain, number 1, a verb, number 2, an object, and number 3, context. Now, stating is a verb, then utility of land meaning. Now, the object here is utility of land. Then the context here is in agricultural production. Agricultural production becomes our context. So that is our first SLO, that is testing knowledge. Number 2, the second SLO becomes, by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to assess different forms of land utility in agricultural production. Assess is going to test a skill. Assess is going to test a skill here, and then different forms of land utility here is our object. Then the context here is agricultural production. 3, by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to appreciate different forms of utility in agricultural production. Appreciating is an attitude here, and then different forms of utility becomes our object in agricultural production. Agricultural production becomes the context. Now, when we are talking about SLO having a verb, object, and a context, now, and also talking about the first SLO being able to test. Now, what are some of the verbs, for instance, that are used maybe to test knowledge? For example, we can talk of state, we can talk of explain, we can talk of describe, we can talk of identify, we can talk of distinguish. There are so many of them. We can use them to just be able to test knowledge. And what about skill? Skill we can use. There are so many. The learner should be able to draw. The learner should be able to use. The learner should be able to participate. The learner should be able to, there are so many. There are so many of them. And then those that are able to test attitude, the learner should be able to acknowledge. The learner should be able to appreciate, and all that can be able to be used to test attitude. Now, after looking at the SLOs, the key inquiry question for this lesson would be, for instance, what is land utility? What is land utility? And remember, we said a key inquiry question should be, number one, able to elicit so many answers from the learners. It should be able to make the learners to be enthusiastic in learning. It should be able to promote learning. It should be able to actually make learners be ready to learn. So what is land utility? In such a question, you will realize that you will have so many answers from the learners about what they think land utility is, and what they've heard or what they know, their previous knowledge about land utility and so forth. You can have also another key inquiry in question: how is land put in different uses? You will have so many answers from learners. How is land put how is land put into different uses? And you can also say, why is land put into different uses? Those can be some of the key inquiry questions. So, and then of course, learning resources, we have got the school community can be the learning resources. Then we have got also the school farm. The learners can go to the school farm to just see how the land has been able to be put into use. Then now, in my next video, I'll be looking at learning resources. How do we cite learning resources, and how do we get learning resources? Today, I will not really focus on that. Then organization of learning. Here I've said the learners will be in class and in the field, and they will be in groups of 6. That is the organization of learning. We said, how is learning taking place and where is the learning taking place? Introduction, I've got recap of the previous lesson on how people access land for agricultural production. Now, lesson development. Of course, in the introduction, I've only done a recap of our previous lesson, which was about how people access land. Now, in lesson development, step 1, we said in lesson development, you can have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, depending on how you want it as a teacher, how you have prepared yourself. Now, step 1 here, learners discuss in groups the meaning of land utility in agricultural production. And then I want you to get something here. The core competencies, the values, and the PCIs are mainstreamed within the lesson development. Get that right. How do we mainstream them? I will handle it in this lesson development, step 1 and 2. Then I will continue in my next video. How do we mainstream? Number 1, you give learners activities that will help them develop some of these core competencies, some of these PCIs, and some of these core values. Definitely, the truth of the matter is you may not handle all of them at a go, but when you give them a particular activity, now you are able to handle some of these PCIs and core values. Now in step 1, now for instance, let me say learners discuss in groups the meaning of land utility in agricultural production. I've given them a task. I've told them to discuss the meaning of land utility. As they discuss, I've said in brackets in my lesson plan, communication and collaboration. As they discuss, these girls are communicating, they are collaborating with one another. So what are we achieving there? We are achieving communication and collaboration. As they discuss also, remember, this is of course, it is a new lesson about land utility. They are also thinking and they are also coming up with answers. As they do that, there is an aspect of critical thinking and problem solving. In my next video, I'll be going to step 2 so that we can see how we incorporate these PCIs and core values. Thank you and good day.